Remember that park that 𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗛 took his excavator in and he was doing some open mining? That park has been absolutely overrun with criminal activity, homelessness, just tents everywhere, tinfoil everywhere. I mean, it is astounding. Homeless encampments return to Seattle Park as advocates fear policy reversal under Mayor-elect Katie Wilson, who is a socialist and ran on a campaign of "we're not sweeping out the parks." What's that going to have? What kind of impact is that going to have on Seattle? Let's get into it. Here we go. So today's article is from Charlie Harger of Cairo, and we're going to watch the video. And I went over and visited with Andrea Suarez. I mean, visited, she gave me an escorted tour along with Tim from 𝗣𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗨𝗠 of this park, because I've been there with Andrea before covering interview with 𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗛. We'd, walk down to where he'd built an encampment. He'd built a fort in the park. He had an excavator in there. He was doing some open pit mining, just had all kinds of accelerant. I mean, he was chopping down trees to make his fort. This is the same damn park. Epic views that we'll see in a second. But you've got a situation where it's so bad that Andrea bugged me a couple of times via text, said, "Hey, you got to come see Dr. Jose Rizal Park. It is off the hook." And I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah. And then there's so many stories floating around right now, elections, crazy stuff. And Andrea hit me up again and said, "Hey, you got to come see this." And when Andrea says more than once or twice, "you got to come see this," you're like, okay, let's go. Because Cairo has covered this. I think KVI has covered this. The Seattle Times have covered this. The Atlantic has covered this story. We were all out there within about the same week. So we're going to podcast this and Charlie Harger's story. We're going to watch his video. It's a longer video, but this is kind of a precursor to my video that'll be coming out later this week, sometime probably around Thanksgiving. Let's watch the video and we'll go through it.
I'm reporting here from Dr. Jose Rizal Park in Seattle. I got a call the other day from...
Sorry. So this is... what you're overlooking here is the site of the World Cup. FIFA World Cup, Seattle. You're looking at that stadium, soccer stadium. You're looking at downtown Seattle. And you've got whacked out homeless people doing drugs on these benches right here. These are completely filled up with drug addicts, with probably one of the greatest views. You got Puget Sound right here. You got the Olympic Mountains in the background. That's kind of the setup. This is one of those epic Seattle scenes that's been overtaken with terrible progressive policy that Bruce Harrell has done a decent job kind of reeling things back in. But now that we've got a socialist mayor who's basically said we're not sweeping anymore, It feels like this is all accelerating super quick, even though she's not even in office yet. Let's keep going here with Charlie.
Andrea Suarez at 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗛 Seattle. She said, "Listen, this is as bad as I've ever seen it. The tents are coming back, and people who are suffering from addiction are finding their way into parks, and they aren't finding very many services." I've had a chance to go on a tour of not only this park, but parks all around me. And I want you to take a look and listen to what I saw along with Andrea Suarez at 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗛 Seattle.
Outreach.
The first thing you'll notice is the park is trashed.
It's kind of coming through, guys. Wellness check.
Garbage and tents everywhere. The human suffering of addiction is plain to see.
I do not have any snacks on me.
A man's shoes poke out from underneath a pile of garbage.
Look at that.
In the picnic shelter. Another body curled under a blanket.
Welfare check.
When I was there with Andrea, there was a large congregation, probably close to a dozen people kind of eyeballing us. And because Andrea had been through a number of times already, people were on a little bit of alert. People were like, And there were so many people at the park this day that I was there, which was Friday. I met Andrea at the park at noon. We were there until like 2 dozens and dozens and dozens of people buying drugs, selling drugs, hoes doing what hoes do in tents. I mean, it was I was wildly uncomfortable. It was very dangerous. You've literally got drug addict or drug dealers signaling to one another, some guy in the forest on the, on the hill, like, hey, doing this kind of number, and whistles. As we came through, they would whistle. Hey, there's somebody coming through, and the one dude's got a camera. Me, right? It was really unsafe. I felt really unsafe. Look at this guy.
Can I get a sign of life, my friend? Okay. You got me worried here. There's been a lot of crazy stuff up here. Gunshots and overdoses and... My name's Andrea. If you want to get up and talk about resources, I'm happy to help connect you to some, okay?
That's what Andrea does all day long.
And she still finds this shocking.
This is not an encampment. This is a drug scene. Men and women are passed out, face down. Can't tell if people are dead or alive.
Hi, Erica.
Hi.
I'm Charlie.
Steps away, we find...
And I saw this young lady running around the camp. She had on big white, not boots, but they're those big fluffy things, like not leggings, but like up to your knee. I don't know. Maybe they were boots. She was getting on a bus. Andrea said she's probably going up to Highway 99 to do what she does, which is sell her body for money. I mean, and she's in one of the nicer, bigger tents because her pimp owns the tent and he's running her out of there.
Erica in her tent.
You feel safe out here?
In this place, yes.
Because she's got a pimp with the gun. She's safe.
Erica tells us she's been on the streets for about a year now.
Do you work? Do you have a job?
None at the moment. I'm taking a hiatus due to the circumstances.
Yeah. Andrea's out here, her group helps connect people to resources, getting them help. Have you considered, getting that sort of help from?
No, I mean, I want to. Like, this is just not thinking. This is not ideal,
Are you alone as a woman here, or do you have a person with you?
I have a friend that is his tent. He's allowing me to stay in here.
Are you clean and sober, or do you need drug rehab at all?
No.
You're
sober.
clean?
Mm-hmm.
There's a wonderful program called The More We Love that is a shelter for women. It's in Renton. And Erica, if you want, I can make a referral.
Erica.
The More We Love, interesting enough, is by Christine Moreland. And she was a mortgage processor back in the day when I was doing a lot of appraisals myself and had a lot of contact with Christine at that point. But The More We Love keeps coming up because it is an outreach program for ladies who work the streets and to help them get off. And they've got a center in Renton. So kind of same thing that Andrea Suarez does for the drug addicted homeless folks, but more for Christine Moreland, The More We Love, for prostitutes.
It tells Andrea she'll think about it. She is not suffering from drug addiction, but then
Look at this.
Takes us to Lewis Park just across the street where people aren't as fortunate.
We've got 3 people on our team, and we'll come through here on the 21st and help the city find places for you to go because it's not all lined up at this point, but rehab.
Do you guys remember there was a woman in a tent that I walked at with this park with Andrea, and we couldn't really work out what was going on. We were walking on wood pallets that had been put in the mud so you wouldn't sink. And there was a tent and there was dudes coming to, check on her. And then we were yelling at her and was she okay? Andrea went up there and I'm like, let's get the F out of here. That was just over this ridge right here, literally behind this tree line. There was a big kind of area that had been stamped out for a handful of tents. And you don't know who's getting trafficked here. You don't know what's going on. There is so much activity mid-afternoon on a Friday. It was shocking.
Drug detox is the only thing I'm offering anymore.
I mean, do you have like something that's a little bit long term?
Like a 90-day program?
Well, not necessarily just like let's say like a bracket amount of time, but something that would help, because at this point to even to convince myself, even though I want to quit,
Yeah.
to say I have to quit right now, it just seems like trying to get a grasp of the
It's
impossible.
kind of an incremental, but
Yeah.
I get a lot of texts whenever I touch on the homeless story, and people will say, that's great, Charlie, but there are no beds in detox. It's impossible and expensive for people to get into rehab. So until that happens, none of this is going to be possible.
That is 100% false. Lakeside Milam called us yesterday. We have 3 beds available. Valley Cities is 24/7. Alala, Skagit, Sundown Ranch, ABHS, Rehab by the Seas, out of region, in region. We're not going to put everybody into detox in one big tidal wave. That's not what we're saying. But one person at a time, one arrest, one diversion at a time is you can go here and connect with 𝗣𝗧𝗛𝗓 and you can go to rehab or you can go to jail. But you can't pass out in a pavilion next to a children's playground.
One of the funniest quotes I've ever seen on this channel is somebody was watching 𝗪𝗓𝗧𝗛𝗓 back in probably 2020 when I was covering who knows what encampment. And the comment was, what's the normal lady doing in Seattle? What's the normal lady doing in Seattle? It was so funny because she is normal. She's like, we can't have this. This doesn't work. These people need help. And the implication is that every other person in Seattle is just brain dead allowing this to happen. And you know what? On a political basis, that's not far off, because look at the beauty that this park is overlooking and look at what's happened to it. I mean, it's shocker.
What you start to notice is the foil.
𝗣𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗨𝗠.
Little squares of foil everywhere.
Foil.
The foil is what addicts use to
Dog park.
fentanyl. On the ground, in their hands.
Yeah, there's untapped needles. I haven't seen needles.
I noticed a lot of needles myself. I mean, right off the bat, we hit a needle. It was somewhere, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was like, hey, look at that. But needles, are we shooting up again? Because we went to smoking. During the pandemic, almost everything went to fentanyl, and they're smoking it. They're not shooting it. So I don't know what that's all about, but I saw a lot more needles, a lot more needle caps than I'm used to. And they're easy to pick out because they're orange, right? They're just, you're in a forest, which is all green and brown and deciduous. And then all of a sudden, there's a nice hypodermic needle for little Johnny or Susie to step on. Perfect. Hey, let's go to the park and play.
The foil is everywhere.
And some people do shoot fentanyl, but it's very rare on fentanyl.
Benny has been trapped by fentanyl for more than 5 years. He asks if maybe he can slowly taper off. Andrea says that's usually not possible in a detox program.
With me, I feel like my steps should be, okay, well, how do I minimize it? You know what I mean? How do I make sure that it's clean? Or how can I figure out a way to be a functional addict?
How can I find a way to be a functional addict? Does not want to quit. Doesn't want to quit. None of these people really want to quit. They know they need to quit, but they know it's going to be so painful to do so. At least that's what they think. Doctors are going to give them some drugs to get through the worst of the physical cravings of detox. That's what they do. But they're still going to have to go through the mental impact of, I'm not used to being sober.
And Benny tells us he's not even sure if he can live indoors. He's been outdoors for so long.
Don't you think I need to learn how to even be inside? It's mentally, there's people that can't, like, there's people that are institutionalized. You know what I mean? Right. There's people that are all they know is how to live out here. It wouldn't even be dangerous if we housed them.
I agree with
You know what
that
I mean?
fully.
You know, like I can imagine how many apartment buildings have burnt up because of the way that they live, or
That
what
is
or the tools that they
absolutely.
use because they're outside.
Tell
and
that
then-
to the new mayor, because putting people inside before treatment is a complete failure, and it's dangerous and cruel, and you're 100% right, Benny.
we need
Housing first is an abject failure. It really is. Just like harm reduction. Giving all these people tinfoil and everything but the drugs is a terrible idea. But that's what they've come up with, right? It's the greatest thing ever. No, it's not. It's terrible.
We need training. We need
Yes.
to be trained on how to talk, how to communicate, how to live, how to take showers, how to take appropriate fast or empty
Right.
pace showers. I mean, everything, how to speak, how to communicate.
Our incoming mayor has indicated she will stop the sweeps. She has indicated that she doesn't know if we should allow people to have tents in parks. When you see that type of reporting, what is going through your mind once we hit January here in Seattle?
What's going through my mind is what's going through the mind of the drug addict. What's going through the mind of the criminal. They are going to come to Seattle. This is going to be an inflow nightmare. This emboldens the activists to squat in parks, put services and tents and people in our parks, knowing, like Erica said, it's nice to be able to camp in a park. It's nice to have water. It's nice to have a barbecue. Meanwhile, there's drugs and needles and flammables everywhere across the street. We have these cute little toddlers walking by. They should be walking through the park. But I am terribly concerned about Seattle going backwards 4 years. It's already looking worse than it was during the pandemic.
We've spoken to a lot of people today. They are desperate, they are addicted, and they need help. Whether they say they want it or not, they all do need help. And hopefully, they can find the services they need before winter comes. Outside Dr. 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗪 Park in Seattle, Charlie Harger, Cairo News Radio.
That was a good piece, Charlie. That was well done. That's why I wanted to bring it up. And let's look at the written article here. There's a few things from here that I thought were really, really well done. Because my piece is going to be more me just following Andrea around, just doing kind of a first-person view of what's going on. Mine's probably a little bit grittier. Mine's a little bit, because there were some situations where I'm like, get me out of here. I do not really want to be here. You know what I mean? They're just like, I am in the midst of a viper's den here. It's something else. And even Andrea said at one point in time, Sean, do you have a gun? And I'm like, I mean, I have guns, but not one on me today. Cause I still want to think I'm just going to a Seattle park. What could possibly go wrong? But even in the middle of day, there was, where that pavilion was to the north, kind of looking at the stadiums, looking at the skyline off to the right. There's an overpass area, and under the overpass, there was about 20 people doing drugs, selling drugs, buying drugs. And they were all like concentrated in this block, like 20 people. I counted 21 people. And I did not film going by that because I just didn't think it was safe. And I had Andrea was there. She's not a huge human being. Tim was there from 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗪, also not a huge human being. I'm the biggest dude there, here. And I'm like, what are we even doing here? I don't know. I don't know if I want to, walk past this. This is insanity. Because I'm not like Jonathan Cho. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? What are you guys doing? You smoking the Fetty here? That's not really my style, right? I'm not aggressive. I'm not, maybe I should be more. I'm not in your face. Hey, what's going on here? I'm more stand back and watch because I'm in their environment and I'm wildly acknowledging of that. So, when I go to these places, I'm like, good Lord, get me back to Bellevue. Majestic views of downtown Seattle from Dr. 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗪 Park once drew tourists from around the world. Hilltop Park in Beacon Hill was a must-see spot for its sweeping vistas of the skyline and stadiums, while local families gathered for picnics and children played on the jungle gym. Now, more than a dozen tents crowd the park. Fentanyl foils litter the ground near the playground, and a man lies motionless under a dirty gray blanket in the picnic shelter, barely responding when 𝗣𝗥𝗘𝗠𝗜𝗨 director 𝗪𝗚𝗧𝗛 gently kicks his feet to check if he's alive. And we saw that. That is normal. That is every single day. Now, ask yourself, if you were, and it was cold that day. I mean, it was not, it was sunny, but this is, this is late November in Seattle and we are far north. So it's pretty chilly, right? And you got a dude sprawled out that all he can do is kind of bring his head up underneath the cover to Andrea and go, how can you sleep on a concrete slab that is probably, 45 degrees? If that, slightly above freezing, and be completely passed out? Well, that's drugs for you, right? So you got a whole bunch of that. The rapid return of homelessness encampments to this park, overlooking the city's skyline, has neighbors and advocates worried that it signals what's to come when Mayor-elect Katie Wilson takes office in January, with promises to end encampment sweeps and expand housing first policies. So a big thing on the left is that housing first is the greatest thing ever, and it's not. It's terrible, and it just kills people. The theory is that you get people that are in stress, under stress, that are, doing drugs, and you put them into housing. That is going to be the fix. That is going to be the cure. That is the left's solution for everything. More housing. We need housing first. This is what we're doing. And then you've got harm reduction, which is another wildly failed policy from the left that indicates if you make it safer, the people using the drugs will be safer and they'll die less. They'll have less physical, they won't get hepatitis. Well, they're shooting up heroin, right? You might have an overdose, but, and where was it? Was it Portland that handed out chapstick? Because, the drug addicts are doing a lot of drugs and they're not drinking enough water. So we want to make sure that, and they're smoking. So we want to make sure that, they don't have chapped lips. And you're like, what is going on? This is going to be an inflow nightmare, Suarez said during a recent tour. Here's another thing that this we didn't cover here, but you've got mayors in Everett, right? Big city to the north. And you got mayor down in Auburn that are saying, no go. There's no lie-sit. There's no nothing in our cities. We're done. We can't deal with it anymore. You guys got to leave. You can't do this here anymore. And where are they going? They're going to this park. We ran into a handful of people that had come from Everett because Mayor Bruce Harrell has said, oh yeah, we're not turning anybody down. Bring them to us. It's all good. 2 thumbs up. That leftist notion that we're not going to deny anybody. But you're talking about a bunch of whacked out nut jobs on drugs coming into your community. Why you want to bring them here? What are you going to gain from that? These people don't vote. You know what I mean? It's just this ideology that we're going to be like Jesus and we're going to take on everybody. No, don't do that. Be like Everett. Be like Auburn. Be like Burien, where they say, no, we're not dealing with this. Because at some point in time, it's going to be that musical chairs, right? Where everybody else says, no, we're not doing this. And there's going to be one guy sitting down, and unfortunately, he's going to have all the homeless, right? Everybody else is going to have stepped away. They're going to be like, I guess I'm not playing this game. You can keep playing it, though. And that's what's happening to Seattle. Seattle is becoming a dumping ground for the homeless because you built it, they will come. And that's what's happened. Seattle's homeless industrial complex is second to none, except maybe Portland. Maybe San Francisco, a little bit of LA. Those are where your big, massive homeless, populations are. Interesting comment from Andrea, and she said this multiple times when I was with her. This is the worst that I have seen since 2020 during the middle of the pandemic, Suarez said, her voice heavy with exhaustion as she surveyed the debris-strewn park. This is not an encampment. This is a drug scene. And it was wild. It was active. It was people running around. There were people going here, going there. You could tell stuff was up. People had their luggage with them. Andrea's handing out her card. Tim's off doing his thing. I'm just trying not to, shaking my boots going, good Lord, we're not in Kansas anymore. And this is a park in Seattle on a Friday afternoon, middle of the day. This ain't 10 o'clock at night. This ain't midnight. This is middle of the afternoon. And it was so active. The evidence of the drug scene is heartbreaking and everywhere. Small squares of aluminum foil. Yeah, we covered that. I mean, terrible, terrible. We heard the one guy talking who actually had some pretty coherent points, considered he's, been in fentanyl for 5 years. His point was that after years on the streets, people have become so accustomed to outdoor survival methods, such as using open flames and makeshift cooking tools. And that's why you have so many explosions, because you've got these propane tanks, you've got gasoline, you've got accelerants. Steve Irwin had, I think, 7 different accelerants in just a small area that Andrea counted. And, they're smoking fentanyl, they're smoking meth, they're smoking cigarettes, and then boom, every now and then something goes up. So, the, outreach from the Seattle Fire Department is insane on these homeless encampments. You know what I did not see in my 2 hours of being at this homeless encampment? And then we went to another one that was even worse. What we did not see, who we did not see at all? The police. Not once. And this is a major drag. There's cars coming and going. I mean, it's just wild. I mean, it's the Wild West. It's the wild, Wild West in action in a park in Seattle. Just like, where are we? What are we doing? So here's another point. City recently passed an amendment ending funding for distributing foil and meth pipes, which Seattle City Council President Sarah Nelson called a win for recovery over enabling. 100%. Get rid of that harm production. They call it harm reduction. It ain't. It's harm production. You are producing harm. You give an addict all the tools, they're going to keep going. They're going to trick themselves. They're going to steal. They're going to do whatever it takes to get that next hit. And that was one of the interesting things that Andrea told me was, hey, don't worry about any of these people shooting you. She didn't use those words exactly. She said, don't worry about anybody shooting you because they don't have guns. Because a gun is worth several $100s, right? It's worth $100, whatever. You can get XYZ out of a used gun. And there's no way that they're going to have something that expensive on them that is liquid that they can easily convert to 10 hits. They're not going to have that on them. They don't have anything like that. And I'm like, okay, all right. I still don't feel all that much better because you know what? The pimp in the tent has a gun. We know that. I mean, that guy's got a gun, or there's a gun in a car somewhere nearby that things go bad. Drug dealers, they have guns. They get popped with guns all the time. So maybe the addicts don't have guns, but when you're having those conversations in your own mind and you're like, yeah, okay, Andrea, I hear what you're saying, but I don't feel all that much better. Yeah, get me back to Bellevue, right? I mean, that's what any normal person would say is, get me the F out of here. I can't believe this is what's come of Seattle. And granted, it's only a handful of neighborhoods this happens to, and it's usually the lower socioeconomic neighborhoods. This does not happen in the upper end neighborhoods. You might have it just outside of the big end, big nice neighborhoods, but you don't have it going on in. Not a thing. It's not a thing. They keep that riffraff swept to folks that won't complain as much. And that's typically lower economic, areas. It's really sad. And it is racist. It's an example of racism. All right. International community, Little Saigon, Chinatown, whatever. You guys are going to take the brunt of this because you're Asian and you're going to take it. And that's literally what's happening. You've got lawsuits going on, loss of property value, all that kind of stuff. And that is happening just literally 2 blocks to the north of this park that Charlie was at that you're going to see video of mine. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again for joining. We'll catch up soon. Bye for now.